If you are new to marketing automation, then automations in ActiveCampaign can be a bit overwhelming. It's one of these features that is actually really easy to use, but it can be a bit tricky to start with because they're so flexible. So in this tutorial, I want to give you a taste of what's possible with automations inside ActiveCampaign, and you will also learn how you can build some smart automations by using wait actions, if-else conditions, and also goals. So first, I want to give you a quick overview of where you can find automations in the automation builder itself, and then we're going to create a process or an automation to deliver a lead magnet and onboard new contacts. So let's just dive right in. So automations you can find under the automations tab, and then if you already have a few automations, you will get a list that looks like this. So you have the name of your automation, then you have like a little preview, like as you can see, sometimes it doesn't work, but over here you see one that does work. And then on the right side, you can find your automation stats. So you can find how many contacts are currently in the automation, how many emails you have inside that automation, and also if you have goals inside the automation. For example, here we have one, then you can also find the completion rate of that goal so that you can measure how effective your automations are. So let's go ahead and let's create a new automation. So to do that, you click this button, and then you will get a list of templates that you can install if you want. I usually like to start from scratch. And by the way, also everything that we're going to create, you can also find below this video in the description. And then you will also get a link that you can import these templates with. And to do that, you have to click this import an automation button. But for now, we just start from scratch and going to create a new automation. So then the first thing that it will ask you is to add start trigger. So a start trigger is basically an action that happens, and when that action happens, then the automation will start. So for example, we can add a start trigger that when someone subscribes to a list, this automation will start. But you can also, for example, start an automation when someone opens a specific email, which could also be really cool. Or when they visit a page on your website, or maybe when a tag is added. Like really lots of possibilities in here. So for now, I just want to start without a trigger. We're going to add that later on. So I click here, start without a trigger. And then it will ask you to add a new action to your automation. So this is the first action that will happen inside your automation. So this is the, basically the action window. So what you can do, you have some sending options. You can send an email, you can send a side message, you can send an SMS, or you can send a notification email to yourself when something is happening inside an automation. Then we have conditions and workflow. So you can add a wait action for a certain period of time or until conditions are met. We will play around with this in a bit. Then we have the if-else. So the if-else allows you to basically split the automation up in different paths based on conditions that you set. We will also do this in a bit. Then there is a split function. It's especially handy for A/B testing. There is a go-to action. We will also play around with that in a bit. And with a go-to, you can basically push someone to a different part of your automation. Then we have goals. So goals are really handy to measure the effectiveness of your automation, but you can also use them to make a contact jump to a certain part in your automation. And then there are some actions to start, end, or end another automation. Those can also be quite handy. Then there is a webhook. We will not talk about that in this tutorial. It's a little bit more advanced, but it basically allows you to post contact data to a URL of your choice, which is sometimes handy to integrate another tool. And then we have perform math, which allows us to make little calculations inside our automation. Then we have contacts, so we can subscribe someone to one or more lists. Then there's unsubscribe, which does the opposite. Then we can trigger a conversion. We can update a contact. So for example, there are custom fields. We can add a tag, we can remove a tag, we can add a note, and then there's also some options for Facebook custom audiences, and we can also adjust a contact's score. Now then there are some other options like the CRM, Salesforce, or some apps. So these are like all integrations. So we'll also not talk about that in this tutorial. We're going to focus on sending options, conditions and workflow, and contacts. So right now I will not do this. I will just close this, and then you see what a blank slate looks like. So just like an empty automation. So the first thing that you need to do in an automation, or at least what I like doing, is to give it a really clear name. So we want to create a lead magnet delivery automation. So I would just call this lead magnet delivery between brackets, and then we want to deliver an ActiveCampaign cheat sheet. So cheat sheet. and then I click save, and then it's just clear to know when you have like a big list of automations that you know like, hey, okay, this automation is to deliver lead magnets. Now then here on the right, you will find the status. So you see that right now it is in draft. And then you can also set it to inactive, and then when we add some things and when the automation is done, we can set it to active so that contacts actually start running into this automation. Now, what do we want to do? The first thing that I want to do is to add a start trigger so that people go into this automation. So what do we want to do is we want to create a really simple form. And when the people fill out that form, we want to trigger this automation. So let's do that really quickly. So I don't want to go too deep on forms. I have a separate tutorial about that in case you're curious about that. But here I would call this lead magnet active campaign cheat sheet. It's an inline form so that we can put it on our website. And then the actions that we want to do is we want to subscribe someone to our list. So I have a main list and a customer list. I will choose the main list. And then another thing that I want to do is I want to add a tag. So here I want to say event has been sent active campaign cheat sheet. So we can also trigger the automation based on a form submission, but if you do it based on a tag, then you also know in their profile, when you look at it, you see all the tags, which are basically like little labels that we apply to a contact, right? Then we see exactly which lead magnets they receive. So this is especially handy if you have multiple lead magnets. So I use this event has been sent active campaign cheat sheet, and then I click create. And then this is the default form that you get. So what I like to do is I just like to remove these titles over here because I like to do it on my website. Then I also want to remove the full name because I don't want someone's full name. I want to have their first name. So I go over to standard, and then in here I drag over first name. So you can just make this real nice. I will not go too deep on that. Again, I have a separate tutorial about that in case you want to watch that. Then on submit, what we want to do is we want to open a URL. So I want to link them to a page on my website. So I just come up with something now that's like /welcome or something. I think that's a bit nicer than getting like this little pop-up that just says thanks. Now then we have the actions right here, subscribe to a list, add a tag. One thing you want to do here, opt-in options, what I do is I turn off the double opt-in basically. Then I click save, then I click integrate, and then I click save and exit, and then we created our form. So then now when we add a trigger, so we go over to tag is added, continue, and then we paste the tag that we just created in here. And then you can choose how often you want to run it. So you can set it to run once or run multiple times. So what that basically is that when this tag is added, then this automation will only run once. Or when this tag would be added multiple times, which is a bit difficult with a tag because if they already have the tag, they cannot get it a second time. But let's say it's an opened email, then the automation will start every time an email is opened. So for now, I'll just leave this to once. And then you can also segment the contacts entering this automation. So you can, for example, say, okay, I only want to start this automation for people that are not currently inside an automation or something. So for this, we don't need that. So we just click add start. Now, then we have to add an action. The action that we want to perform right after someone fills out the form, gets the tag, starts this automation is to send an email. So we're going to send an email, create an email. Then I will give this email a name. So I have an example email here. So I would just call this email checklist for first name. And then this is the pipe symbol and then lower so that the person's name will not be capitalized at all. It will be completely in lowercase. Then we click create. And then what we have to do is we have to choose a template or build from scratch. So I created a template for myself. I would also really recommend you to do that if you want the template that I'm about to show you. You can also import in the description below to save some time. So this is the template that I'm using. It's a very simple template. It looks a bit like it's an email from a friend. So it's not overly designed so that it doesn't look like a promotion. So this is the email that we want to use. So I will just copy this, select here, and I just paste it in here. And then you see that our email starts with hey, first name, and then we have the pipe symbol and then in title case. So this will convert the first name into a title case so that the first letter of their first name is capitalized. And then for people that we do not know the first name of, then we just say, hey, hey. And then we say, thanks for joining the list. Glad you found me in this little corner of the internet. From now on, I will send you one valuable email every Tuesday. I think you will like it. But in the meanwhile, here is the ActiveCampaign cheat sheet you asked for. Download the cheat sheet. So this is going to be a link. I hope it is helpful to you. Then we have a signature, which is a message variables, like a little snippet that you can make so that you can reuse it in all of your emails. I also created a separate tutorial about that, so you can also watch how to do that. And then we have a PS, any questions, or do you just want to say hi, hit reply, I would love to hear from you. And then we have another unsubscribe message variable. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to insert some conditional content, because we do not want to show both of this, right? We only want to show or hey Max or hey hey if we do not know the first name. So what we do, we just click here, duplicate content block, and then I just delete this. Then we have that block, and then I just duplicate it again, and then I say here hey hey. And then what I like doing, I just say here, okay, remove. And then you see now that we have a content block here for text, for text, for text. So if you have separate blocks, then we can just set here, boom, we can say make conditional. Now, one thing that I have to mention, this feature is not available on the Lite plan. So if you're using the Lite plan, then unfortunately you cannot use this. So here I say make conditional, first name, I go down here, I say first name exists. And then to the second one, we do the opposite, make conditional, first name, and then we say does not exist. And when we hover this, you can also see that it says here, will show if first name exists, will show if first name does not exist, and then everything else will be the same. Now then one thing that I like to do, which is also a great example, is that we have this text over here. Thanks for joining the list. Glad you found me in this little corner of the internet. From now on, I will send you one email every Tuesday. Now, blah, 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 blah. So we only want to show this to people that are new on our list. Because imagine that someone is downloading multiple lead magnets, multiple freebies. They're already on the list for months. And then they get an email like this that says, thanks for joining the list. So what we want to do is we want to insert some conditional content for this. So what we do is just we copy this block. And then we delete this. And then we go up here. And then we also have a separate block for this. And we also want to set conditional content for that. So what we want to do is we want to check if a subscriber just joined the list. Now, how do we do that? We want to set up conditional content, but unfortunately, it's not so easy to check here if someone just got on the list very recently. So what we have to do is we have to create another little automation to add a tag when they join our list. So let's create a new automation. And then we here start again from scratch. And then what we want to do is we want to add a trigger to this automation when someone subscribes to any list. So here we click subscribes to a list, continue. So then we say here, select list, any list, and we only want to run this once, so only the first time when they subscribe to a list. Then we click add, start. And then we want to conditions and workflow or contacts. And then we want to say add a tag. And then what I like doing is status new contact. Click save. So then when someone subscribes to our list, they get a tag that says status new contact. Now then what we want to do is we also automatically want to delete that tag again. So here we say wait for a specific period of time. So then I would say here wait for 30 minutes. And then we remove that tag. So then we say here status new contact, tag to be removed, and then we end the automation. So the automation will also end if there's no end automation block. It is more like a visual thing for yourself that it's like very, very clear where the automation ends. And then I would call this function tag people tag new contacts. Click save. And then also what we want to do is we want to make it active. So from now on, people that subscribe to any list, they will get this tag for 30 minutes. And then we can use this tag for conditional content inside our email. So we go here, tag exists, status, new contact. So what we created now, this is basically already the email. So this will show, hey, Max, if we know the first name, or like then the first name, right? Or hey, if we do not know the first name, and then the email, or like the intro of the email, if it is a new contact. So if it is a new contact, so if someone joins in the last 30 minutes, we will say, thanks for joining the list. And if it's not a new contact, so then the person does not have that tag, then it will only say this. Here's the ActiveCampaign cheat sheet you asked for. Download the cheat sheet. I hope it is helpful to you. Now, one thing that we have to do is we have to insert a link. So I have a link here of our ActiveCampaign cheat sheet. So this is an actual thing. If you want, you can also go ahead, scroll down and import this. So then I select this, and then here I add a link. And that is our email. Now, one more thing, we make this bold, just a little bit nicer, right? And then we go over to next. And there we will find basically the settings of the email, or they call it campaign summary. So this is the subject that we set. Then we have pre-header text. So if you want, you can change that. That's basically the little text that will show after the subject in someone's email inbox. Now then from, who is the email from? Now, Max van Kollenburg and hello@maxvankollenburg.com. Then the message name, so this is just a name for yourself, nobody will see this. Then the address, you have to include an address inside your email that will be in the unsubscribe message variable that I just showed you. And then we have open and read tracking so that we know when someone is opening our emails, and also link tracking so that we can track when someone clicks that link. And we will also show this in a bit, or use this in a bit. So it's important that you turn this on. Reply tracking, I would leave to off, because if someone replies to your email, then they will get like a little warning that says like, hey, be careful with this email, because then there's basically like, I'm not sure what to call it, like an ActiveCampaign email, so that the ActiveCampaign can track the emails. So I would leave that to off, and also Google Analytics, I would also turn that for off to now. Now then we click finish. And then we edit our email to our automation. So yeah, we created the email and we added some conditional content to check if we know the first name or not. And also if someone is just new on the list. Now then, there we don't just stop, because this is the power of automation, of marketing automation. Because we can send this email, and then what we can do is we can send another email based on if someone opened the first email. So it's really important, right? They're just new on our list. It's really important that they open this email. So what you want to do is you want to add a wait action first, because we want to give people some time to open the email. So we say wait until specific conditions are met. And this is really cool. So you can just say wait for 2 days, or you can say wait until. So wait until the following conditions are met. So what we want to do is we want to wait until someone has opened checklist 4, so that's the email we just created, or has clicked on a link. And then we also say this. Now, why do we check both? And that's because ActiveCampaign cannot always track if someone is opening an email, because they basically add like a little pixel to the email, which is an image. So some providers block images and then the pixel will not load. But if we would also check if someone clicked a link inside an email, then we can be pretty sure if someone opened it or not, or at least interacted with it. So you want to set this to or and not to and, because if you would set it to and then it could not track if the email was opened, but it could track that the link was clicked, then it will not work, because both of these conditions then have to be met. So you set it to or. Then we click save. And then what we have now, so you can also say here up to 2 days. That's also important to set, because otherwise the contact will basically always wait until they open that first email, and then we click save. So what do we have now? The form will be submitted, the tag will be added, this automation will start, they get this email in which the checklist will be delivered, and then we wait until they opened our email or clicked the link inside our email for up to 2 days. So when someone opens the email or clicks the link in the email, they will continue right away. If they do not engage with this email, so if they did not open or click, then they will wait for up to 2 days. Now then what we want to do is we want to add an if-else to our automation. So we want to split the automation based on if someone opened it or not. So what we do, we just repeat the same conditions that we also set in the wait action. So we say here has opened, we select the email, or has clicked on a link. And then we also select our email and we leave this to any link, and then we click add. And I think this is where ActiveCampaign really is amazing, that we can do all this, that we can split the automation based on if they did that action or not, and then based on that, perform a different action. So if the contact match the following conditions, they will follow the yes path, and otherwise they will follow the no path. So what we want to do is we want to resend the same email if they did not open or did not click the link inside that email. So then we go over to no and we click sending options, send an email. What we do is click create a new email. And then I like to call this resend checklist for first name lower, create. So again, this is just a name for yourself so that you can see in the automation what the email is for. It is not the subject of the email. And then what you can do, you can either create a whole new email with maybe another text, but what I just want to do, I want to go over to past campaigns and I want to use the email that we just created. And then maybe we want to give it a different subject. So let's call this ActiveCampaign checklist, just like that. And then we click continue. And then what you see, because we clicked the past campaign and selected the past campaign, is that we get the previous email also. So then you don't have to create this whole thing again. Then if you want, you can change maybe some sentences in there. So I don't do that right now. I just go over to next. And then we set our campaign summary, so our settings basically. So we just check that, is the subject okay, from okay, is the address set, yes, open and read tracking, link tracking enabled, yes, both of these, great. And then by the way, what is also really handy is that you get like a little spam check. So ActiveCampaign will check like a few things, like if you're using certain words that are known as like spam words. So you see in this case that it's passed that check. So that's a good thing. So then we click finish and then we click save over here. And then you see right now that this is added. Now then we want to repeat the same thing basically. So here we want to say wait until specific conditions are met. So then what we want to do is has opened. And what I like to do is I still like to check if they opened the first email, because maybe we resend the email and then in the meantime, or maybe they missed the resend, but they opened the first email. I can just add them both. So here I say has clicked, checklist, any link, or has opened our resend email, or has clicked on a link, resend, and then we click save. And click save again. And then what you could do, you could just like let them wait in there forever, or we can say again, wait for up to maybe 7 days. And if they then still did not open it, then maybe we want to unsubscribe them from our list. So what we do is if else, and then we check again, has opened then the first email, or has clicked on a link, and then we say, okay, first email, or has opened our resend campaign, or has clicked on a link inside our resend campaign, and then we click add, and then we have two paths again. So what I like doing, I would just here end this automation if they open it. And then when they open this or the first email, they will continue right away. They go into the if else. The if else will check, okay, did they open any of these two emails or did they click a link inside any of these two emails? If yes, what I like to do is I used to use go to another action. So you can also in this case use end this automation, but imagine you have like some kind of follow-up here for people that opened it, then you can just use the go to another action to drag it somewhere else. And then if not, what you can do is you can just use unsubscribe from your lists. But just imagine they maybe have already been on your list for a while, but they only did not open these two emails. So it's again to check with the if else if they have opened any emails. So there we say, how would you like to split this automation? Has opened any campaign or email, or has clicked on any campaign, any link, add. So it's just like a double check. So it's like important with marketing automation that you think these things through. Like if you would unsubscribe someone here, maybe they're already on your list for a while. They opened other emails, just not these two emails. So if they have opened any campaign or have clicked any link, I just end this automation. And if not, then we know, okay, this is just like a bad lead. They did not open any of our emails. So then we just say unsubscribe from our list. And then you can unsubscribe them from all your lists or from your main list. So in this case, I will just click here, main list, click save. And then I would also end this automation. So that is how you deliver a lead magnet and resend it. Let's now take it to the next level. So what I want to do is I want to add another automation, and this is going to be our onboarding automation. So we're going to do this rather quickly. We're also not going to write any emails. I just want to show what you could do after you delivered that lead magnet. So we created a new automation, or we're going to create a new automation. So we start again from scratch. And then we start without a trigger. And then for now, we're also not going to add a new action. And then I'm going to call this onboarding new contacts. So what is really important and what is also so cool about marketing automation is that you can send people just like newsletters, or you can create this like pre-aligned customer experience of emails that will be sequenced and sent to people. Some people also call this like dripping emails. So what we do is we add an email here, and then we just say something like welcome. So you have to think this a bit true, obviously. So here we say welcome, and then you can add your email, write something like really nice in there for people that are new in your list. So here I click save and exit for now. So that's really handy. So that's also something that I like to do, is to sometimes build out the automation first and then write and add all the emails. Now, then what you could do is you could, for example, just say, okay, wait for 2 days, and then we send another email. So then we just say, okay, and I call this my story. So maybe you want to tell why you do what you do, how you want to help that person. And then I click here, save and exit again. And then you can basically create a whole sequence like this. And you can also add if else's again to check maybe if they open these emails. If not, then you can also do something again. So that is basically how you can create a little onboarding sequence of emails. Now, but how do people get into this onboarding? Now, I'm glad you're asking. So what we can do is we can start this automation from our lead magnet automation. So if we go back over here, before we end this automation, what we can do is we can say start an automation, and then we can select our onboarding automation. So I think for that, we quickly have to activate it, refresh the page, because otherwise sometimes the automation cannot find the other automation. So if that is the case, then just refresh the pages and then we'll see if it shows up. So we go over to conditions and workflow, start an automation, then we go down here and I just quickly type onboarding, and then you see here that we have onboarding new contacts. That's the one we just created. And then we click save, and then the onboarding will start. But one thing that we have to check again is, okay, what if someone would download multiple lead magnets? We do not want to start the onboarding multiple times for them, right? So what we could do is we can add another if else. So we can say if else has entered automation onboarding. So I really like to do it this way. Click add. And then if they have entered the onboarding automation, then it will follow the yes path, and otherwise it will follow the other path. You see that these two got like mixed up here now. It's like a little bug. So if you have that, again, just refresh the page, and then you'll probably see that from then it will be fine. So you see here now that the order is all right. So we want to start only the onboarding for people that have not entered the onboarding yet. And then we click here, end. And then it's very important, the go-to, we drag over to this if else. So what have we created? So we created a form, and then when someone submits this form, the tag will be added to their profile, and the tag will trigger this automation. Then inside this automation, an email will be sent with, in this case, the cheat sheet. That email has some conditional content in it, in which we check, okay, do we have the first name or not? And are they new on our list or not? Then we wait until they interacted with this email. So if they opened it or clicked a link in it. And then after that, we check with an if else, okay, did they open it or click the link? If yes, we just continue over here. If not, then we continue over here. And if they did not interact with that first email, then we will just resend the same email with a different subject. And again, you can also just do something different there. And then we have another wait until, where we wait until they interacted with the first email or they waited with the second email. And then one thing that I see that we forgot to do is we have to set a time limit here as well, because otherwise people will be stuck in there forever. So it will wait for up to 7 days. So people who do interact with any of these 2 emails, they will continue right away. And if they did not interact with it, they will continue after 7 days. And then with an if else, we check, okay, did they interact with any of those emails? If not, then instead of just unsubscribing them, we want to double check. Okay, did they open any campaign or any link? If yes, we just end the automation, and then if not, we unsubscribe them from our main list, or you can even unsubscribe them from all your lists. So we just do that to make sure that maybe they were already in other automations, maybe they were in your list for a while and they just didn't open these 2 emails, then we really do not want to unsubscribe these people, right? Now, if they interacted with the first email, they continue over here. Or if they interacted with the second email, they will also continue over here with the go to other action. And then we just check, did they enter our onboarding automation? If yes, we do not want to add them a second time. If not, we want to add them to our onboarding automation. And with our onboarding automation, we just send a sequence of some emails. And if you want, you can also go really crazy in there with if else's and personalization. So yeah, I hope this helped you to understand how automations in ActiveCampaign work. Like, I'm really excited about this because I think it's incredibly cool what you can do with this. So yeah, if you like this tutorial, give it a little thumbs up, and also remember all the examples that I just showed you, you can find in the description below, so that you can just import them, change to your own needs, maybe also play a bit around with it. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. I will reply to every single comment.